Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Homestead Challenge podcast. It is officially December, and with that, I'm starting to really reflect on the year past. I am completely of the camp that we need to start doing this thing in December. I'm going to be talking all this month about reflecting on the past year as well as planning our goals for the future. Because when January 1st hits, I don't want us to be like, oh, now it's time to plan the new year. I want to hit the ground running with a plan ready to go. I know that not everybody feels that way. So if you are watching this in January, that is fine too. But the year past taught me a lot of things. I had a lot of wins and a lot of fails. So I want to talk today about a couple of the things that I was reflecting on over this past year that worked and some things that didn't work. Maybe so you don't feel so bad if you had some fails as well. If you are new here, I am Brittany of the homesteadchallenge.com. I am kind of crunchy city homesteader here on a quarter acre, right in, I guess, a suburban city town, trying to fit it all in to my real life where things are kind of modern. I didn't really grow up this way. I'm just trying to figure it out along the way, and I hope that you will subscribe and join me here as well. So I'm just going to get right into it. My first win was taking on only one new garden project this year. So we moved into this house 2 years ago, and the first year we had a lot of projects. And that kind of meant that the actual gardening itself just didn't really get as much attention as it probably needed. So choosing to only do one big project this year, excuse me, was so good. I actually also love last year, we kind of set ourselves up for success in the spring by putting in a couple of new raised beds in November, even though we couldn't use them yet. And then when spring came, I did not have anything to do as far as huge projects. All we had was we were making a patio. So I call it a garden project because it had an area just full of these weeds and old overgrown pachysandra. If you're familiar with that plant, it's impossible to get all out. It took the entire summer, and I'll talk about that later. But I am so glad that we only had that one big project this year, and I could just focus and enjoy the garden instead of worrying about getting all of the things done. Next thing that I've talked about a couple times before, but oh my goodness, do I love it. And that is freezing my tomatoes instead of stressing out and processing them right away. So when I first started canning, I did not grow my own tomatoes. I lived in a rental house. We were a military family, and I truly got so overwhelmed. I didn't even know how to can at that time. So if you're new to canning, listen up. And so I bought like ridiculous amounts of tomatoes. I'm not just saying that like I picked up some tomatoes. I mean, I picked up like 2 bushels of tomatoes and 2 of cucumbers at the same time, and I had to deal with all of it at one time. And I was so stressed. And I think I still have a little bit of PTSD from that. But this past year, I decided instead of stressing when the summer is so busy and I want to be outside, I don't want to be inside, I am going to just freeze all of the tomatoes and deal with it later. I already dealt with half of them and I still have half to deal with, but that is okay. I can do it whenever I want. I know not everybody has the luxury of having that much freezer space. It definitely took us a while to get here, but I am just so thankful. Of course, if you don't have that much freezer space, freezing whatever you can just to deal with later makes it so much easier. The next thing that was a huge win was actually my DIY bug spray. So I have made this years ago, and then I hadn't made it again until this summer, and I ended up sharing it with a lot of different friends, and they are obsessed with it too, not to toot my own horn. If you head over to thehomesteadchallenge.com, there is a recipe there. I know you're probably not thinking about bug sprays right now, but hey, maybe that's something that you want to give as a Christmas gift to somebody who loves camping. But it is my favorite thing. I'll definitely talk about it again next summer, and I will be making it year after year and sharing it with everybody. Huge win with the herbs on that one. Next thing that I really leaned into this year that I've actually talked against in the past is convenience appliances. So I love nothing more than using my cast iron Dutch oven. I've said in the past, I find it like it's just like sexier. Like it feels good. It feels like I don't know. I do think that things taste better in it than cooking in a crock pot. However, this year I have had a little bit of more of a busy time as my kids are getting older. They're doing just one sport each, but now it was on 1 day a week, which was my favorite, but now it's gonna be on 2 days a week. So I'm trying to lean into that and figuring out how am I gonna make these meals. I'm gonna have to rely on the crock pot. Yes, it's better in the Dutch oven, but the crock pot is gonna be here to stay. And I've also leaned into a bread machine. So I'll talk about my sourdough in a minute. If you've been a long time listener, you know that I have kind of, I don't even want to call it a love hate. I feel like it's just a hate of sourdough, but I do it anyway. I don't know why. But the bread machine this year, with some yeast recipes and some sourdough, while I still had it, has been really fun. I did kind of give up on it for a little while though. I don't know why. So I want to get back into that in the new year because man, it is really easy. They're like the ugliest loaves I've ever seen in my life. It is not pretty. It is not picture worthy like you see the beautiful loaves of all the homesteaders as they take them out of the oven. But man, it is easier. And then with that, my one big Black Friday purchase was, well, not one. I got trapped into a couple things, but my one kitchen purchase was the Ninja Crispy. So it's an air fryer, but it has a glass bottom instead of like all the nonstick ones. I had been gifted a nonstick one in the past. I don't use any nonstick. I thought it smelled like chemicals, got rid of it. So very excited to try this. I do feel like maybe there's a nonstick tray that comes with it. I don't know. I don't have it yet, so I cannot report back. But these convenience appliances, I'm hoping keep me on track this year with ordering out less, trying to stick to our budget and that kind of thing. And with that, one of my next ones was meal planning, especially around our milk and meat delivery. We officially get all of our raw milk. We pick it up once a week at a drop off by my house, and then I order our meat once a month. So that process really works well for me in meal planning. I feel like even though things have gotten more expensive because I have those kind of local grounded things, our prices really haven't changed incredibly much. I really only notice that things are way more expensive when I'm buying junk, like all the prepackaged snacks for the kids on those Costco trips and things like that. But for the most part, really sticking to our meal plan has really worked this year. It really helps me. I've tried a monthly meal plan. It's absolutely the way to go. And I've done it when I'm doing like pantry challenges, trying to at least uh, pick out a whole lot of recipes every single month, trying to use up what we have. But a lot of the time, I just end up going back to weekly meal planning. It works for me. I cannot stress enough the importance of a meal plan with it just helps every single other aspect of your home. I promise you. If you want to know more about meal planning, then leave me a food emoji of your favorite food and let me know so that way I know that you want to hear more about it this month as we are going to get ourselves set up for 2026. My next thing that I really implemented this year were a few habit stacks. Mainly, the number one thing my habit stacking is every single morning I already made breakfast. That's my habit. And with that habit, I stacked another habit, which is putting in one load of laundry in the morning. As soon as I get my sausages on the stove, I run down to my basement and put in a load of laundry. It is so helpful to get it started early. I feel like if I don't get it started early, it's never going to happen and it's definitely never going to get folded. I'm a morning person, so do what works for you, but habit stacking is really the best way to get things going. And I'm hoping to add on some new habit stacks for the next year as well. Other things that went great, I had so many tomatoes. I did not expect to have so many volunteer tomato plants from last year because we had an oak tree fall in my garden and all of the tomatoes fell. And with that, they all planted themselves. And this same thing's probably going to happen this year without the tree because I was lazy and didn't clean up my tomato plants. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to have a lot of volunteers next year. I'm not going to bank on it. I'm still going to buy tomatoes. But oh my goodness, I had more than I could possibly want of cherry tomatoes. Probably could use more other tomatoes if I was really trying to make all of our tomato products. But it's so hard for me. I do find that, like the Costco organic diced tomatoes, it's really cheap. But then I do like to make my own sauces, enchilada sauce. I've made Bloody Mary mix, pasta sauce, pizza sauce, all of that kind of thing, because that costs a lot more. So don't make all of my own tomato products, but we do make quite a few. And then last but not least, an incredible herb harvest. I am so thankful that I planted all of the perennial herbs when we first moved here. They have just expanded and expanded. If you know, you know. There are so many herbs out there. It is December, and I still have herbs alive in Ohio, and it has snowed several times here. Herbs are just my favorite thing in the garden. I'm sure that if you've been listening for a while, you could guess that. I love all things herb, herbalism, herbs and food, all of it. I am kind of obsessed, and it's something that you can plant that'll make you feel really good, especially if you're a new gardener. Because let me tell you what, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that died in my garden this year. I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting. I know for a fact that not everything turned out, for sure. But every time the herbs, they're there for me. They show up. They don't die, no matter, you might even try to kill them and they won't die. It is the best thing ever. I cannot stress enough that you need to plant herbs in your garden. Things that I have alive right now, I have parsley, I have rosemary, I have oregano, I have thyme, all living right now. Back in the summer, I'm sure that my mint will all come back up, my lemon balm will all come back up, and my calendula will come back. I just ordered some new varieties too, because calendula is my all-time favorite herb. My echinacea is definitely going to come back. And I love herbs that double as cut flowers, like echinacea and calendula. They're some of my favorites because they're so easy to grow. Whereas I do grow fussy things like dahlias and stuff, but you have to like worry about it, and they come so late. Whereas the herb flowers are just there all season long for you. Plant some herbs. So what didn't work out this year? My sourdough starter died twice. This is not a shock to anybody because I get so lazy with it. I just leave it on the counter forever, and then it gets moldy and I have to throw it away. This happens all the time, but I don't stress about it because I do think that making a sourdough starter is pretty easy. I have a recipe on the blog. It takes 7 days. I am asking for a sourdough starter, like a dehydrated one, in my stocking this year, just because I want to see if that is more hardy than creating my own. But I never really stress about it because if I do want to make it, I can have one in 7 days and make some bread. So it's really okay. If your sourdough starter dies, you can always make a new one. Mine will probably just continually live and die, as I don't like to bake very much. It's just, with the sourdough, you have to be so specific. I know people say you don't. I know that. I think that it comes probably with more practice. I don't have it. I'm not a baker. So that's that. Next, are projects taking longer than expected? And I'm not mad that the projects took longer than expected. I'm mad that I had ridiculous expectations of them being a little easier or faster than I anticipated. The number one thing being our patio. My sweet husband, we could have just poured at this point like a concrete patio, right? But no, I wanted antique bricks. I wanted them, I was hoping to get them cheap, so I was getting them from Facebook Marketplace. He was going after work different nights into all cities around the area, picking up different bricks, sometimes digging them out of the ground and then bringing them back here. But because they're antique, they're not all the same size, so we had to level it all out. We had to deal with getting out all of the weeds that were there first. This took the whole summer long, and it was finally finished in September. We actually still have to do one more thing to it come spring, but it is so beautiful. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm so thankful. But I just need to remind myself that things take time and that I'm probably going to be living here forever. So I just need to hold my horses and deal with it. And next year, I'm thinking our project may, I'm not positive, but I think we need a shed. And I have to think that that's not a weekend project. This will take me all summer long. And by me, I mean probably my husband. But I'll have ideas for it. Right? I don't know. I will help. I always help. I did a lot of the patio helping, mainly the clearing. He was the bricklayer because he is better. I'm actually not a perfectionist when it comes to that kind of thing, so the results turned out much better having him do it. All right, what else didn't survive in the garden? We had no pumpkins, no zucchini. Both of them had green growth, but just no fruit. What else? I had different varieties of lots of things die. A lot of my dahlias didn't come up. A lot of my flowers that I planted from seed didn't come up. I should probably start those in advance this year. I'm gonna try a different way of seed starting this year because I've been terrible at it in the past. Last year, like nothing survived. I mostly made tomatoes and peppers, but then I realized that like my favorite garden store sells tomatoes and peppers for $1. So I'm not gonna focus on those. I'm gonna focus on the flowers because that is the part of the budget that gets me every year. I'm doing all my own marigolds. I'm gonna try to do some of my own like spring flower, like pansies, violas, things like that. Really the pretty things. I'm gonna really try to be starting those from seed inside. I'm hoping that that helps me. I'm okay with planting some things directly in the garden and not starting them from seed. I feel like the vegetables I've just failed so hard at every year, which I definitely failed at this last year. So that could be why some of my things didn't turn out. But the zucchini for sure I bought from a start. So I don't know. Who knows? Every year you are going to have something in your garden that fails every year. And that is okay. And then my garlic was really, really small. I've actually had it drying for a really long time since I pulled it, and I don't feel like dealing with it. But because it's so annoyingly small and I know I'm never going to just use it like one head at a time, I plan to just sit down in one day and chop it, like mince the whole thing, and then freeze it in like tablespoons. I'm hoping that I can use it. I could also mince it and store it in olive oil, which people do often. I'm not sure which route I'll go yet. I'll let you guys know if that's a project. I'll definitely be sharing that on my Instagram if I do it. But I think if I just deal with it all one day and get it done, I'll feel better about it. But man, really small garlic. I did the elephant garlic, which is really great because it's so much bigger. And I said before that I would only do elephant garlic in the future, but it's not very flavorful. The one that I had, I have cut some of those up because they're less annoying to cut up, and they're just not great. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I did not plant any garlic this year. I'm planning on buying it next year if I get through all this. I'm sure I will. I use a lot of garlic. So, anyways, some simple things really worked for me this year. There's really nothing earth shattering here. I want to know what habits you've created this year that have really worked for you, or did you have one thing in the garden that was great this year, or one thing in the kitchen? I want to know. Definitely either message me on Instagram, leave it in the comments wherever you are listening. I want to know what worked for you. And maybe if you have a funny fail, you can always share a picture of that on our Facebook group. We love to have a good laugh with each other. I've had a lot of fails, and that is absolutely okay. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. Like I said, I'm going to be talking more about reflecting on the past year this month, as well as looking towards the future. And I really look forward to getting some goals set with you guys and hopefully making 2026 another great year. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for being here.